in China they had compressed tea leaves, and they compressed it and dried it out into bricks, to small little bricks that they would use as currency. So I believe it'd probably be a similar thing, right? So eventually we would, I think, now that I think about it, it would probably eventually get to where we are to now, where we are with a fiat currency like we have now.
Yeah.
However, the fiat currencies are very new. They haven't been around for a whole long lot of time. So majority of history would still be running off of this, poop-based economy. And all right. So we said like in order to like determine the source, it has to be a specific family. Okay, let's call them the what are we calling the family? What's the family name? What's the we're not it's not Earth. So well actually so what's the American uh family that determines Americans' poop money?
Cougars.
The Poogers? Okay. All right. So we got the Poogers, right? They've been there since, they were early colony. They were from the colonies, right? They can trace their lineage back to the fucking, colonies. That's the early colonies. But they became influential and they were chosen as, when America was creating its own currency, they are chosen as the family to base it on. Right? So what happens if the Poogarts line ends? No more
Well, there
poop
should
can be
always
made.
be like an elected second, like a replacement, like a vice president or like a vice poop machine
Okay,
family.
so what happens to the value of the poop that have already created?
I think it should stay the same,
So
right?
it's just like, so it's
Because
basically it's the same thing as like saying, oh look, there's a new like we changed what our currency looks
yes, like the thing is, the main
like
point is that there's
like
a
a
central area, central source where all the
right
poo money
right.
comes from.
So essentially, it's the same thing as how like a shield penny and a wheat penny are worth exactly the same. The only difference is how old they are.
Right.
Yeah.
Like a
Okay.
copper penny or like a zinc penny, they're still a penny, despite being made out of from different materials. In this case, poo number one is the same value as poo number two,
Right.
even though two different families created it.
Yeah. So all right. So they would eventually get to fiat currency, right? So I'm thinking probably the pipeline, right? The poop line, if you will, is eventually for the majority of history we use commodity currency, right? So that is actually trading the poop by itself. And but the problem with that is it's still like for in our history, usually precious metals were used because they're rare, but some of them are so rare that you can't use them as a currency. Now, eventually that goes to representative currency, which was used for, there's a lot of time. So I guess by the colonial era, they wouldn't be using, uh, they would be using representative, I think, right? They were using representative money in the colonial era, I believe.
Yeah, they'd like printed their own money, like the states individually, very
Yeah,
beginning.
but I mean, it was still representative, so it represented money in that was involved somewhere, right? So it represented like physical amount of poop. Also, here's the thing: you can't just stop pooping, and you can't increase it. So you can't alter the economy like that. I mean, you could actually increase it, and you could reduce it, I guess, by because
With
one
hope and
person.
releasing.
No, well, no, not really. Like one person can only like has poops a certain amount, like in a given year, and you can't really change that forcefully. But you could do a little bit by like watching what you eat, and you poop a little less or poop a little more. But that's not really a good control mechanism. The easiest way to control it would be to add or remove members of the family, as in uh, having another having children or killing members of your family.
Oh Lord.
But then those families would be very powerful, so you really couldn't kill them. You couldn't do that. Otherwise, they. I mean, if one family makes all of the currency for the entire country, they're going to be powerful, right? But they could, still have kids, so you could increase the supply, which would increase inflation, and you couldn't. That would be basically even if they had no kids, that's a steady increase. Like right. So how we do it now is we control how much money we print to alter to have some control over the economy, but you can't control that. So it's just uncontrolled economy that could easily spiral out of control, which is interesting. Which, if you're running on a system like that, there's a good chance that economies have to be started from scratch, every once in a while, because they just fucking destroy themselves. You know?